thank you so much. And my guest today, very, very special guest. I mean, if you want to go way back, like 31 years ago, she was actually the first runner for Miss Ghana. Show some love, man. Well, 31 years ago, she was the first runner. And 31 years later, still our band home. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, this is the lady, the face of Ghana's Most Beautiful. She's the judge of that show. And she's here to us today because she's written a book, and the book is called Pieces of the Portrait. Now, this book is intense, man. And this is a book that everybody should read. I'm sorry about that, but later on I'll be showing how you can get a free copy of this book because it's so good, it's so important that I have purchased a few of these books just to give away free for you all. So listen very, very carefully, and we'll show you how to get a copy of Pieces of the Portrait. But in the meantime, let me shut up and meet the author. Put your hands together for Ghana's Most Beautiful. Show some love for Linda Ampah. There you go. There you go. All right. Yeah. Linda, welcome.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, those of you who follow us on our channel on television, online TV station, you must have seen an interview with her. I did one with her called Bombing Komo in Tree. This is going to be more like the English version, but we're going to have some more to hear. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the KSM show set.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, we had you on Bombing Komo.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Bombing Komo fun. You've been the face of Ghana's Most Beautiful for a while now. How long have you been on it?
I think this will be the 13th season.
Really?
Yes.
How did you get on? Who recommended you? Did you audition?
I cannot remember, but I was called by the producer then that they were starting a new TV beauty pageant, and they wanted me to join. So, and the concept sounded good. It was interesting. It was different from the usual. It was more educational. So I hopped on.
And you've been on since.
Yes, I have.
And continue from there. Since you've been on, you know, you've attracted a large following. The youth, the ladies, the girls, some guys, they want to be like Auntie Linda. Of course, they see you with the glamour, hosting, with your beautiful smile, and you become a distant role model to many.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm saying this because I'm getting into the book that you have written, which is very, very deep. And from what I hear, you decided to write a book because the followers, your crowd, your fans, just wanted to be like you, and they wanted to say, wait a minute, all you see on TV is not just me, there's a story before this.
Exactly. So, of course, after I joined the show, as usual, I didn't put pen and paper on this, so I didn't know what to expect. Along the line, I realized I had come to be a regular feature in people's homes, and especially the young people who are attracted to, of course, like you put it, the glamour and the nice clothing and the smile and all of that. So I realized that when I come into contact with some of them face to face, they will ask you questions like, so how did you get here? How can I be like you? You're my role model, you know, things like that. You know, and of course, with a lot of things happening in the world today, and especially in our country, I thought, why don't I share my birthday with them by telling them how I got here? And that was what the motivation came.
And the story was not simply about how you got here, but actually to let them know that it has not been easy. It was like a rough road getting here.
Very rough road.
Very rough road.
Oh, extremely rough.
And some of the things you share in your book just goes to tell that, yeah, it wasn't easy getting here.
Yes. Apart from them knowing that this is how I got here, or this is the story behind, I also wanted some of them who have been through very difficult upbringing to know that it's still possible to brush yourself off and continue. You know, so yes, it's a very rough background, a very hard truth, but it is my story. Yeah.
How rough was your upbringing, you know? I mean,
I had a very sweet, smooth upbringing until maybe around age 10, 11, thereabouts. My mother, of course, I was raised by a single mother. I think she did a good job, made life very comfortable for us. She was a disciplinarian, to say the least. You know, but of course, now running my own business, I understand the challenges she was also going through as a single parent running a business and all the difficulties that she had to face. You know, so she was quite a terror too, you know, sometimes. You hear the car horn and everybody's running and
scatter.
You see pee at the gate. Hey.
I mean, if you say it's a terror, was it because she was a disciplinarian or she was very strict?
She was strict.
Yeah.
She was strict. She was both.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, I don't know about your parents, but I think in those days, you hardly found parents who would cuddle and say, I love you and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't meet any like that. I don't know about others, but, you know.
They showed love in a different way.
You know, so, you know, of course, they'll throw a party on your birthday and that kind of thing. That was show of love, you know. And so that's how we grew up. But
but something very traumatic happened in your childhood. I want to begin from there, and then we learn other lessons too. But something very traumatic happened in your childhood that you want to share with everybody, because as you have recognized since you published your book, people have come out with similar stories.
Yes, our house was full of cousins. We had, my mother was, I think she was the last born. She had 3 older brothers. And I guess in those days, if you found yourself in a bit of a position to help others, family members are, you know, they literally drop them by your door and expect that you carry on from there, you know. So, in fact, for the most part of my life, I thought most of the cousins I was living with were my direct siblings, you know. So we had a full house. Average maybe 10, 11, 12 people at a time, you know, and it was fun, you know. But as usual, typical Ghanaian parent, you are not taught about sexual harassment, or if you found yourself in a certain situation, these are things that you should look out for, or this is how you protect yourself. And of course, today there's a lot of internet, so the children know a lot more than we even give them credit for. So somebody like me, I had no clue what sex was about. The closest I had was Osofodazi. And then I remember when it was time to hug or to kiss or something, immediately they kick us all out of the room. You know, that kind of thing.
They didn't want
they didn't even want us to see. No. Because I think for those types of parents, if you see, what are they going to discuss with you? I mean, I'm sure they didn't even know how to talk about such things, you know. So very, very unprepared and very naive, foolishly. You know, so, and then of course you are also taught to be very respectful. So if your cousin or even a friend or somebody sends you, anybody even 3 months older than you, when they send you, you must obey and go. And then when you bring whatever thing back, wherever they are and they tell you bring it, you take it. So that's what we were all taught growing up. So I had one of our cousins who lived with us, he was in the boys' quarters. And then there was an occasion, he called me into the room. Of course, the details you find in the book, you know. So I found myself in this situation, and I didn't know what to do. My mother was also a very busy woman, so I'm sure even the changes in me.
I noticed you skipped it very nicely.
You found
it in the book.
You found it in the book.
For those of you who have not read the book, when he called you to the room,
and then things happened there.
So you had at that time no idea that he wanted to have sex with you?
No.
Well, let me put it, he wanted to rape you, basically.
Yes, no. I didn't even know what a scene like that looked like. You know, that if a man calls you in the room and maybe he's naked or half naked, that's a warning sign. I had no clue whatsoever. I didn't know. I'd never seen anything. Nobody had talked to me about it before, you know. So very, very naive and very stupidly naive, you know. And therefore, that's how I found myself in that situation, totally unprepared. And then after this happened, because my mother was a very busy person, she didn't even see the changes that had taken place. My work was different, my behavior was different.
What changes? I mean, your work was different, physically different?
Physically, you work differently. You've been raped. You know,
you're in pain?
You are in pain. You're bleeding profusely. And you've been warned if you tell, you will be killed, or, you know, all kinds of threats. So you knew that something had gone wrong, but who do you tell? So you just cry a lot and cry some more.
And,
you know.
And nobody noticed it?
No. I think one of my cousins noticed it and asked me, but I couldn't tell her because I had been warned. So I was afraid if I told her what would happen, maybe this cousin would kill me or whatever, you know. So I couldn't tell. And then I went to school. I was in a boarding house then. And then whilst in school, I felt very ill. And they sent me, first they sent me to the hospital in Tafo. And then I was sent back home with a note. I didn't even understand what it was. So I came home, gave it to my mother. Of course, slaps followed immediately. It was slaps, left, right, center, and I found myself on the floor. Then I asked, Ade, what have I done? What is it? I'm sick, you know.
So, okay.
You understand?
Yeah, so after the whole thing, you went back to school, you fell sick.
I felt
school
sick.
was at
Oforipening,
okay. You fell sick, went to the clinic, and then they gave you a note.
They gave me a note.
And you showed the note to your mom?
And I showed confidently, Miyari, I'm sure I have malaria or something. So I've come. And the doctor said my head school mistress or whatever it was had given me this note. And so I brought it. And as soon as she finished reading, the slaps followed. I'm like, why? What did I do? You know, I'm sick. Why are you beating me? You know, that was my reaction. Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, of course, I fell to the ground.
Yeah. You didn't know what was the
I had no clue.
It was some simple malaria or something?
I had no clue what was wrong with me.
Wow.
Then I was sent to the hospital. I think it was the same day or the day after. And then it was confirmed that I was pregnant. I said, pregnant? Really? Oh, how did that happen? Yeah, that's how naive I was. That's how naive I was. And so, of course, upon the doctor's advice, I'm sure, and maybe, I'm sure there were lots of consultations that went on. I didn't know.
Like 10 years?
I think 11 and a half, thereabouts.
Yeah.
And so they took me in for an abortion. After that, of course, the interrogations began. Who did this to you? How did that happen? Of course, I had to narrate this whole story. Of course, you are not even believed. Your mother doesn't believe you.
So you actually you opened up and told everything?
At this point,
it
was out, and it was obviously because of that act. I was informed that it is because you had sex with somebody. That's why you are in this. I said, no, okay. Then this is what happened.
Okay.
But I was warned. And so I didn't know. And the bleeding stopped at some point. So I didn't know what else to do. You understand? Very, very innocently. So then, of course, they had to call this cousin in. They told me, no.
He said no?
Oh, no. How can it be me? No. You send her off to boarding school. Do you know what she's doing in the school?
Wow.
So then, and this
and they took his story?
I don't know, but obviously the bashing I received, they must have taken his story.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really tough for a little girl to go through that.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really
And it's
tough.
interesting that you talk and even sort of chuckle about it now.
You make it easier.
I make it easier. But I can imagine going through at that age, not knowing what is happening and that whole...
The questions you ask and the kinds of things you imagine, and I can't even explain because it's difficult. Because you don't know anything, you don't know any better, you don't know. So what if it didn't happen? And now that it happened, could it have had a different result? You know, I still didn't know any of these things, you know, and nobody sat me down to explain that. Yeah, this is it. This is what happens when this thing takes place, and these are the repercussions, and so on and so forth. You know, I didn't have that.
So at the end of the day, you are the one they blamed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He was arrested and quickly came out. He was kicked out of the house eventually, but he was still in the neighborhood, you know, so you see him sitting on top of a wall and you are passing and him and his friends are making fun at you and teasing, you know, things like that.
Let's quickly jump in. When a little girl like this, and I'm asking this for the benefit of you viewers out there, little girls or young girls growing up out there, after how traumatized is this experience? How traumatized were you? Could you become normal again? Was your behavior different among your friends? Was there something strikingly?
Yeah, I became very withdrawn. You know, I was a very bubbly person. But after this, I became very, very withdrawn. I was very much to myself a lot, you know. Of course, when you're working in a neighborhood, this same person is by the roadside, maybe the next house or 2 houses from our house. So you pass there every day, you know. So then you felt ashamed, you felt filthy, you felt not worthy, you felt not wanted. So, I mean, at some point, I even considered suicide.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I actually tried. I went to stand in the middle of the road on the Canadian.
You wanted to go the hard way?
Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, if it was today, I'm sure I would have tried something else. But then the only way I could think of was to stand in the middle of the road and get knocked down by a car. You know, so this taxi driver, instead of him hitting me, he braked. I mean, the guy pulled his brakes, got out of the car, gave me a slap.
Really?
Get out of the
It was that near.
Oh yeah.
So you had to brake.
Oh yeah.
And they come and give you a few.
Got out of his car, are you crazy? Get out! Where's your house? Where do you come from? Why are you here? You want to die? I said, yeah. I said, get out, GB4. You know.
Wow.
Then I walked back home, you know, because I realized, hey, this thing can be hard. So I guess I changed my mind very quickly.
Oh, you were bent on going and
I was.
You wanted to do it the hard way, get knocked down.
Because at this point, I couldn't even share what was going on within me. There was nobody I could talk to. There was nobody I could tell, hey, there's something going on inside of me. This is how I feel. I didn't know who to tell. You know, so there was a lot going on in my mind, you know, emotionally, psychologically, and everything. You know, so I thought, you know what, let me just end it and that will be it.
Wow. At this point, maybe there somebody watching, obviously, some little kid, young girl, whatever, boy. What advice do you have at this point? What should they be doing? If there's somebody in that situation now who can't talk to anybody, as was in your case, what advice would you give to the person now?
Well, I've come to learn now that there are psychologists available. There's a whole unit now in Kolebu full of psychologists, and you can walk in any day, any time. There's help out there. There's somebody to listen to. After launching this book and all the people who have come to me with their horrific stories, so I called my friend Angela Oforiata and asked her, what do I do? Because this country, I'm totally unprepared for it. She said, just listen. That's all people want to do, just somebody to hear them out, somebody they can feel confident that they can share their deepmost pain and feelings with, you know. And there are people apparently I didn't know that can hear you out, and sometimes just a word of encouragement. You know, it's okay. You know, it's okay to feel like that, you know, but you can't brush it off and move on, you know. So there's help out there.
If at the time, and this is Weeper, who would you have trusted to open up to?
I don't know. All the people around me, these cousin siblings were in the house, so I knew that was a no-go area. My mother was too afraid. I'm sure she probably would have helped, but I was too afraid to open up to her. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a doctor. I would have opened up to a doctor. Yeah, maybe I would have. It was actually the doctor that I told what happened to me. Well, he was very warm, he was very receptive, he made me feel comfortable, you know, yeah. So maybe I would have spoken to him, yeah.
Do you remember the doctor? Was too far?
Dr. Tinkrai.
Oh, really? Yeah?
He was a family doctor.
Family doctor?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dr. Tinkrai, I remember him very well, I can never forget him.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, we're going to move on. We're going to take a commercial break. But when we come back, let's move on. After all this trauma, how were you able to put the pieces together and become who you are today? Ghana's most beautiful. And you also have cuddling fashions and so many other things. We're going to take a short pause. When we come back, we'll see how you've coped with it and what you're doing now. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.